Hold up. Did you know that while you're casually gaming, companies might be listening to your microphone even when you're not talking, recording your facial expressions through your webcam, using AI to predict if you'll ever become toxic before you even do anything wrong? And get this, some companies are now pre-banning players based on algorithms that think they might cause problems in the future. Yeah, that's not science fiction. That's happening right now in 2025. And what I'm about to show you will make you question everything you thought you knew about gaming privacy. What's up, everyone? Today we are taking a peek behind the curtain into the absolute darkest side of gaming that the industry desperately doesn't want you to know about. We're talking about a massive surveillance operation that makes Big Brother look like child's play. I'm talking about microphone monitoring that happens 24/7, facial tracking that reads your emotions, AI systems that predict your future behavior, and yes, companies actually pre-banning players before they've done anything wrong. And the rabbit hole goes so much deeper than you think. It's disgusting. By the end of this video, I hope you'll understand why your gaming setup might be the most surveilled device in your entire house. So buckle up because this is going to be a wild ride. Before we dive too deep into the specifics, let me paint you a picture of just how massive this surveillance operation really is. We're not talking about a few shady mobile games here. Major companies like Epic Games, Riot Games, Activision Blizzard, and even platform holders like Sony, Microsoft, and Valve are all involved in this. In 2024 alone, American consumers spent nearly $57 billion on gaming. But here's what most people don't realize. You're not just buying games anymore. You're buying into the most sophisticated data collection network ever created. Every single interaction you have with these games is being recorded, analyzed, and monetized. When I say every interaction, I mean everything. The way you move your mouse, how long you pause before making decisions, the tone in your voice, even the way you breathe during these intense moments, it's all being captured and fed into a machine learning algorithm. But here's the kicker. Most gamers have no idea that this is happening because companies bury this information in 50-page terms of service agreements that nobody reads. Scummy, because these companies are pieces of shit. Let's break down exactly what these companies are collecting because the scope is mind-blowing. Here's some examples. Voice and audio surveillance. This goes way beyond just monitoring what you say in voice chat. Companies are using advanced AI to analyze your voice patterns, emotional state, stress levels, and even predict your age, gender, and mental health status based on vocal characteristics. Wait, I thought we weren't supposed to be assuming gender in 2025. Some games continue recording even when you think your microphone is muted. They're capturing background conversations, TV audio, music you're listening to, and building profiles of everyone who lives in your house. I've seen reports of players getting targeted ads for products that were only mentioned in background conversations during gaming sessions. They also have facial recognition and emotion tracking. So if you're using a webcam, VR headset, or even your phone camera while gaming, companies are doing real-time facial analysis. They're tracking micro expressions that you're not even aware you're making, measuring pupil dilation to gauge excitement or stress, and using subtle color changes in your face to monitor your heart rate and blood pressure. But if that wasn't scary enough, they're also using this data to manipulate your behavior. If the system detects you're getting frustrated, it might make the game easier to keep you playing. If it sees you're really engaged, it might present you with purchase options at the exact moment you're most likely to buy. Again, these companies are pieces of shit. Everything you do in a game is now being tracked with millisecond precision. How fast you click, the path your mouse takes across across the screen, how long you pause before making decisions, when you take breaks, what time of day you play, how your performance changes based on your mood. It's all being recorded. Companies are building psychological profiles so detailed that they can predict not just what you'll do in games, but how you'll behave in real life. They know when you're likely to make impulsive purchases, when you're emotionally vulnerable, and exactly how to manipulate your brain chemistry to keep you playing longer. They're even using biometric and health data through things like VR headsets and mobile integration. Companies are collecting medical grade biometric data. We're talking about iris scans, heart rate variability, sleep patterns, stress hormones, even early indicators of neurological conditions based on your hands, how they shake, or how your eyes track objects. This isn't gaming data anymore. This is your medical information that could affect your insurance rates, job prospects, personal relationships. And most of it's being collected without your explicit consent, or at least not consent that you're aware of, which I think argues consent can't be given. I'm not a lawyer though. All right, so now let's get into what's really dystopian about this stuff. Gaming companies are using AI to predict your future behavior with scary accuracy. And here's where it's even ethically questionable. They're taking action based on these predictions. I'm talking about systems that can analyze your gameplay patterns, voice tone, typing speed, mouse movements, all to determine if you're likely to become quote unquote toxic, cheat, quit the game, or even become a security risk. And some companies are literally taking preemptive action against players based on these algorithms. Let me give you some real examples of what these AI systems are analyzing. Aggression prediction. The system monitors how aggressively you move your character, how quickly you click during combat, and even the pressure you apply to your keys or controller. If the AI determines your aggression score is too high, you might find yourself matched only with aggressive players, or worse, flagged for future monitoring. They have toxicity forecasting, because of course they do. AI analyzes your chat patterns, voice stress indicators, and even how you interact with game menus to predict if you'll become verbally abusive. Some players report being chat restricted or shadow banned before they ever said anything toxic, purely based on algorithmic predictions. And you have spending behavior manipulation, because money is all that matters. The AI knows exactly when you're most likely to make in-game purchases. It tracks your emotional state, recent performance, social interactions, and even real-world factors like paydays or holidays to present you with offers at your most vulnerable moments. How nice. Social network analysis is where companies are mapping your entire social circle within games, analyzing who you play with, how those relationships influence your behavior, and even predicting which of your friends might become problematic based on guilt by association. But here's the most disturbing part. These AI systems are often wrong. Players are being punished for crimes they never committed based on algorithmic guesses about their future behavior. And when you try to appeal these decisions, companies hide behind proprietary algorithms and trade secrets. I've seen cases where players were banned from games they'd played for years simply because an AI system decided they fit a profile somewhere of someone who might cause problems in the future. No human review, no appeals process, just an algorithm making life-changing decisions about your digital life and something you purchased. If you thought corporate surveillance was bad, wait until you hear about the government angle here. In 2024, a shocking Government Accountability Office report revealed that gaming companies are actively collaborating with the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security to monitor players for domestic violent extremism. This isn't some conspiracy theory, it's official government policy. Federal agencies have established formal partnerships with major gaming companies to share player data, communication logs, and behavioral profiles. Here's what's particularly concerning. The definition of domestic violent extremism is incredibly broad and subjective. Your casual trash talk during a competitive match could be flagged as aggressive behavior. Your gaming friends list could be analyzed for extreme connections. Even the games you choose to play can be used to build a profile of your potential beliefs and potential threat level. The report specifically mentions that gaming platforms are being targeted because that's where millions of Americans spend their time communicating freely. While social media companies face public scrutiny for their data sharing practices, gaming companies have been operating under the radar. Think about this. Every Discord conversation during gaming sessions, every voice chat during raids, every private message between gaming friends, it's all potentially being shared with federal law enforcement agencies in the United States. And unlike traditional surveillance, this doesn't require warrants because you voluntarily agreed to it when you clicked accept on those shitty terms of service. But here's the really scary part. This surveillance is specifically targeting gaming communities because law enforcement believes these spaces are breeding grounds for extremism. Whether you agree with that assessment or not, it means that simply being an active gamer puts you under increased government scrutiny. This surveillance isn't even limited to American companies or American players. Gaming is a global industry, and your data is being shared across international borders with very little oversight. Chinese-owned gaming companies like TikTok's parent company ByteDance are collecting massive amounts of data on Western players. European countries are subject to GDPR, but that hasn't stopped data collection. It just made consent forms longer and more confusing. What's particularly concerning is that your gaming data could be accessed by foreign governments through legal data sharing agreements or corporate partnerships that you're completely unaware of. That casual gaming session could be contributing to foreign intelligence gathering operations. And because gaming is such a global industry, your data is likely stored on servers in multiple countries, each with different privacy laws and government access policies. Companies love to shuffle data around internationally to find the most privacy-friendly jurisdictions for their operations, not for your benefit, but for theirs, because of course they do. Let's talk about why these companies are so eager to collect all this data, because understanding the money involved explains why this surveillance is so aggressive and comprehensive. Your gaming data is incredibly valuable because it's so detailed and personal. Unlike social media data, which might show what you claim to like, gaming data shows what you actually do when you think nobody's watching. It reveals your true preferences, emotional triggers, spending habits, and psychological vulnerabilities. Dating brokers are paying top dollar for gaming information because it's so accurate for predictive modeling. Your gaming habits can predict everything from your political affiliations to your likelihood of defaulting on a loan. Insurance companies want this data to adjust your rates. Employers want it to screen job candidates. Even divorce lawyers are using gaming data in custody battles. Here's a specific example. That cosmetic skin you bought during a particularly fun gaming session, that purchase combined with the emotional and psychological data collected during that session creates a detailed profile of your impulse buying triggers. This information is then sold to other companies who use it to manipulate you into making purchases in completely different contexts. Some of the largest reported sales of virtual gaming items have reached $500,000 for a single cosmetic skin, but the real money isn't in the virtual items themselves, it's in the data about who buys them, when they buy them, and what emotional state they were in during the purchase. Companies have turned your gaming habits into a multi-billion-dollar surveillance economy, and you're not seeing a penny of the profits. In fact, you're often paying them for the privilege of being surveilled through game purchases and subscription fees. How messed up is that? This isn't just theoretical privacy invasion. This surveillance is having real documented consequences for players around the world. Let me share some examples that should terrify you. There's employment discrimination. Players have reported being denied jobs after background checks revealed their gaming data. Employers are using gaming behavior profiles to screen candidates looking for signs of aggression, poor teamwork, or addictive personalities based on gaming habits. You have relationship and legal issues where gaming data is being used in divorce proceedings and custody battles. I've seen cases where parents lost custody of their children partly because their gaming data suggested aggressive tendencies and poor judgment. There's even financial consequences. Credit agencies and insurance companies are starting to factor gaming behavior into their algorithms. Your gaming spending patterns, play times, and even the types of games you play could affect your credit score or insurance rates. And what I think is worst of all are the false accusations. Players are being wrongfully banned, suspended, or reported to authorities based on algorithmic mistakes. These AI systems have significant error rates, but companies rarely admit their mistakes or provide adequate appeals processes. Let's talk about the Epic Games case, where the company was fined $275 million for privacy violations. Wasn't just about money, it exposed how millions of players, including children, had their most private moments recorded and analyzed without proper consent. That's just one company that got caught once. So this is all pretty terrifying, but I mean, at least you're not completely powerless, I guess. So I do have some practical steps that you can take to protect yourself. You can audit your privacy settings by going through every game platform and gaming service you use. Make sure to turn off voice monitoring, disable facial tracking, opt out of data sharing, and revoke permissions for cameras and microphones when they're not needed. This stuff is deliberately buried in menus, but it should be there. And read privacy policies. I know nobody wants to do this, but at least skim the privacy policies of games you play regularly. Look for sections about data sharing, third-party partners, and government cooperation. Some games are way more invasive than others. And try to minimize data linking. Don't link your social media accounts, phone number, real name, or other personal information to gaming accounts unless absolutely necessary. Use gaming-specific usernames that make it tougher to be tied back to your real identity. Ultimately, it probably would be, but at least let's not make it easy for them, right? And support privacy-conscious companies. As we always say, vote with your wallet. Support indie developers and companies that prioritize privacy. They do exist, but they need our support to compete with the surveillance giants. Stay informed and advocate for yourself. Follow organizations like the Electronic Frontier Foundation, stay updated on privacy legislation, and contact your representatives about gaming surveillance issues. This problem requires both individual action and systemic change. Look, I'm not trying to ruin gaming for you. Gaming is an incredible hobby, art form, and social activity that brings joy to billions of people worldwide, myself and my husband included. But we can't ignore what's happening behind the scenes. The gaming industry has built the most sophisticated surveillance apparatus in human history, and they've done it by convincing us that it's all for our benefit. They're not just making games anymore, they are manufacturing consent for surveillance capitalism, and it's disgusting. Here's the thing though, we do have the power to change this. These companies only get away with this because most gamers don't know it's happening. By watching this video and sharing it with your gaming friends, you're already part of the solution. Shameless plug. Like, subscribe, and share this video so that we can demand better. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Peace out. Bye.